Knowledge and information remain very liberating tools, but what cannot be denied or debated is how they hinge on the principles of progress and a much brighter future. And that's why part of our promise to you is to continually provide the right information and help increase learning and knowledge for a brighter tomorrow. In today's show, that promise takes shape in the form of information on women's health issues and the benefits of technology. Thanks for joining us for Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry. Let's get right to learning.
Lowering the sodium content in children's diets today can help prevent heart disease later in their life, especially for those who are overweight. Shake the salt habit, shop smart and cook smart. Use less or no salt when cooking. Try using fresh herbs and seasonings to add more flavor. Limit the consumption of salty snacks. Take the time to carefully read the nutrition labels on food products to identify those high in salt and choose the healthier options. Remember, no more than 2 grams of salt per day from all food sources for children under 11 years of age.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, June 15. Jamaica is being strategically positioned as a globally competitive logistics hub and an efficient investment destination. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made that declaration on Tuesday as he opened the 8th staging of the World Free Zone Organization Annual International Conference and Exhibition, ACE. He says Jamaica, being ideally located at the intersection of the east-west and north-south trade routes and having the world's 7th largest natural harbor, are assets that will be leveraged to position the island as the 4th global logistics node comparable to Singapore, Dubai, and Rotterdam.
Just last week at the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles, I met with most of the world leaders of this hemisphere and heard from the Inter-American Development Bank how nearshoring and friendly shoring will attract more than $78 billion of new investments and exports, which will create more than 4 million direct jobs. Needless to say, Jamaica is actively positioning itself to take advantage of this new wave of investment projected for the region.
Prime Minister Holness adds that significant investments continue to be made in transportation, telecommunications, and human capital development to transform Jamaica into a globally competitive and efficient investment destination. The ACE conference is being held from June 13 to 17 at the Montego Bay Convention Center in Rose Hall, St. James. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says investors from the Middle East are showing interest in the country's tourism and travel industry, with some expected to visit the region in July to hold talks with business interests. He made the announcement while closing the sectoral debate in Parliament yesterday. The minister says the Middle East interests want to support not just Jamaica, but other Caribbean nations through investments. He says a special investment fund has already been set up for the Caribbean.
In the case of the Emirates, which is the largest and most significant of all the carriers of the Middle East, they not only gave the undertaking, but they actually, for the first time in our history, started to sell Destination Jamaica through their Emirates holidays so that people can buy direct flight to Jamaica from the Middle East and elsewhere.
With more than 40 investors from the Middle East expected to visit the Caribbean in early July, Minister Bartlett is urging Jamaicans to prepare their projects for engagement. The minister led a high-level tourism team in May to the United Kingdom, the United States, and Dubai to explore investment and airlift opportunities to strengthen travel to Jamaica. The National Diaspora Policy has been approved by Cabinet, and a plan of action to implement the strategies identified is currently being drafted. Following that announcement, details were shared by State Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Leslie Campbell, as he officially opened the 9th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference on Tuesday. He says the June 14 to 16 conference will serve as a forum to discuss key elements of the plan of action.
To be effective in these pursuits, We will need data in the order of access to reliable, regular, and updated statistics of the size, location, and demographic characteristics of diaspora members, for which technology will be critical.
Senator Campbell says the ministry will be collaborating with international partners to develop a digital portal and diaspora registration platform to collect data to facilitate evidence-based decision-making for diaspora engagement.
A feasibility study will also be developed in consultation with the diaspora on a Jamaican diaspora engagement model.
Asserting that government remains committed to harnessing the full potential of the Jamaica diaspora, he says the conference will focus on re-energizing and motivating members to be active partners during the post-COVID-19 era. Meanwhile, building a curriculum that solves global problems is among the suggestions for positioning the education sector to contribute to the digital transformation of Jamaica. The recommendation was made by Microsoft's Chief Digital Officer, Jackie Wright, as she gave the main address on day one of the Jamaica Diaspora Conference.
We're here about solving problems, and through solving those problems, we create competitiveness, value-added businesses, we innovate, we create economic development, all innovating around solving the world's problems.
Ms. Wright says education in the digital age will require a fit-for-purpose curriculum that caters to the skills needed for the future. It also includes forging partnerships with the private sector and conducting research to understand emerging themes. The National Blood Transfusion Service now has an additional blood collection center at the Spanish Town Hospital in St. Catherine. The center was opened on June 14, which is celebrated annually as World Blood Donor Day. As she opened the center, State Minister of Health and Wellness, Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn, reiterated the importance of blood donations.
Blood donors are the pulse of the global health community, and the universal need for regular voluntary donation is evident when we take the time just to look across the spectrum of our health facility. I want to take this opportunity to applaud those who advocate and encourage others to participate in the life-saving practice of giving blood.
The center will operate on Saturdays starting June 18. And finally, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport has decided to go ahead with this year's staging of the Jamaica 60 Festival Song Competition. Entries will now reopen for 1 week from June 14 to 21 to select 7 new songs. These will add to the 3 already identified by the selection panel from the previous 123 entries. The 10 finalists will vie for the national title on July 28. Portfolio Minister Olivia Grange made the disclosure during the opening ceremony of the Jamaica 60 Diaspora Conference.
I just want to say to the diaspora and to Jamaicans here at home that we will have a festival song competition and we will have quality entries. And I have been networking the industry to get good producers, good songwriters, and performers on board, so we can come up with 10 songs.
In addition to the staging of the competition, Jamaica 60 celebrations will include a commemorative album that will feature artists such as Shaggy, Agent Sasco, Coffee, and Omi, among others. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
As the Ministry of Health pays close attention to maternal health care through the establishment of high dependency units across the country, we're doing our part by sharing the information. And that information also includes the fact that miscarriages remain a common health issue impacting women right across the globe. If you've ever come face to face with this issue, then our next feature may provide some comfort or reassurance.
Meet Adele, just 7 weeks into her first pregnancy. 13 weeks into her third pregnancy and 8 weeks into her fourth, she realized that she was experiencing spotting. At those points, visits to the doctor became unavoidable. It was then that she learned that as a woman, an expectant mother, she had quite an unpleasant encounter with miscarriage.
So a miscarriage refers to pregnancy loss, early pregnancy loss likely occurring prior to 20 weeks gestation. One of the common misconceptions is that an abortion is something induced versus a miscarriage is something which occurs spontaneously. The truth is both terms are often used interchangeably. However, miscarriage is more commonly used simply because of the negative connotation of the term abortion. So most of the terminologies now that you hear individuals use is in reference to what we call early pregnancy losses, right? And those usually encompass a whole range of disorders which ultimately result in what is commonly referred to as miscarriage.
So I've had 3 miscarriages. After the first, I wouldn't say that I knew back then that those were really signs of miscarriage. I actually, in ignorance, thought that these were just coincidental things happening to my body. It wasn't until the second miscarriage where I experienced the exact symptoms that I realized that my body had given me a warning sign from about a week or 2 before, and that was spotting. That was the first thing that would have happened to me, where throughout my pregnancy, very early on, I noticed that I was spotting, and it wasn't just a regular color period looking like red. It was bright, and then it got to the point where if it wasn't bright, it was almost kind of brown or burgundy. Fast forward to about a week or 2 after the spotting would have started, I remember I was getting ready to go to church. I remember it like it was yesterday. And then out of nowhere, I felt as if someone took a baseball bat, or in Jamaican country, we maybe know more of a cricket bat, and hit me in my lower back with it. And I remember I was bent over in pain for, it felt like maybe 20 minutes, but I really don't think it passed 2 minutes or thereabout, but that's just how immense the pain felt. And I remember I bent over, doubled over in pain. I maybe pushing, actual birth was the only thing worse than that for me, without pain meds. And then a few minutes later, I got the urge to rush to the bathroom, much like what had happened 6 years prior with the first miscarriage. And I went to the bathroom, and before I could even prepare myself to sit, there came the flow.
The most consistent signs and symptoms of miscarriages are initially PV bleeding or spotting, meaning spotting from the vagina, or either heavy bleeding passing out clots, fleshy materials. Up to 80% of women who are going to experience a miscarriage is going to have some form of bleeding per vagina. Second is abdominal pain. This pain is usually often cramping, varying in intensity and localized to the lower abdomen. And those 2 are usually the most consistent signs and symptoms of a miscarriage.
You could see aspects of the sac and everything that was there, because it just all came out, like tissue, things that looked like tissue or whatever. And I showed it to him before we flushed. My initial reaction when I found out what was happening was to hide in embarrassment and shame in my bathroom from the one person who would want to share in this moment with me, which to me was an indication that I thought that I somehow disappointed my husband. There is a small part of your mind that says, could I have done anything differently? Did I do anything to cause this? Did I do too much walking? Did I work too hard at work? Was I too stressed? You ask yourself those questions.
There are a variety of causes. What I would say is that most first trimester miscarriages, when they do occur, they often occur without any obvious risk factors. And around 80 to 90% of the times they occur because there was some abnormality during the formation or the early processes which are involved in the formation of the fetus. There are known notable risk factors for miscarriages. Age greater than 35 being one, patients who have chronic disorders or chronic medical illnesses such as diabetes, which is uncontrolled, thyroid disease, which is uncontrolled, certain autoimmune disorder, which often causes some damage to the vessels in the body and therefore causes clots to be formed. Those clots primarily affect the vessels which form or contribute to the formation of the placenta and therefore contribute to early pregnancy losses. Very rarely, miscarriages can also be caused by abnormalities in the structure or the shape of the uterus. This abnormality in the structure of the uterus can make implantation of a fertilized egg very difficult and then contribute to miscarriages.
Of course, there is no going back. But what is done next can be significantly helpful for women who are eager to have an encounter with their childbearing wishes.
Then I would have spoken to my doctor, and then she would have advised what to do next. And by the third, I was an expert. From I started spotting in that pregnancy, I knew what was possibly going to happen.
The key at that point is either reassurance or prevention of subsequent miscarriages. Now the truth is, around 20 to 30% of first trimester pregnancies will end in a miscarriage. But 90% of those women who experience these first trimester losses go on to have subsequently normal pregnancies without any problems. The issues arise in those patients who have recurrent miscarriages. So the risk tends to increase as the number of miscarriages that you have increases. So for those women, it's a matter of one, confirming the diagnosis, which is usually done through blood investigations, but also instituting some management, and that is usually in the form of either aspirin or certain blood thinners like heparin.
So the truth is, a miscarriage can happen to just about any woman, but there are some preventative steps that you can take to reduce the likelihood.
One of the things which we advise, particularly in the first trimester, is treatment of any febrile illnesses. So these could include anything like viral illnesses, bacterial illnesses, and of course it may sound very basic and simple, but avoidance of things like hot tubs or saunas or jacuzzis. Now what we've seen is that these febrile illnesses, which of course are associated with elevation in the body temperature, just as going in a sauna or a jacuzzi, can potentially trigger a miscarriage. However, for those individuals who have these underlying medical illnesses, for example diabetes, the key is control of the blood sugars, ideally preconceptionally, so even prior to pregnancy. One, to reduce the risk of miscarriages, but also what we know is that uncontrolled diabetes in the early parts of the pregnancy can also contribute to chromosomal abnormalities or congenital structural abnormalities in the fetus, which can then precipitate a miscarriage. For those individuals with thyroid disease, we encourage that they see the endocrinologist and control their thyroid function prior to pregnancy.
If this is your story, my advice to you would be, 1, learn your body. If this isn't your first pregnancy, make sure you know how your body functions when you get pregnant. Then I'd also say that be true to your emotions. Don't let anybody dictate to you how it is that you need to mourn. If you want to mourn, mourn. And if you're one that you miscarry and tomorrow you can get up and go. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to sit and cry for 2 years or whatever it is. But be true to your emotions. Do what I didn't do. Get help. I thought that I was fully okay, and it wasn't until a few months ago actually, which is almost 2 years after the second miscarriage, that I actually had an emotional break. Like I broke down and I just wasn't managing well. I felt like a failure as a person, as a wife, a mother, an employee. I just felt like I was a total mess, and I could not understand what the root of it, because I'm normally very well put together and in tune with my emotions, and I can fix myself. And I realized, no, I need to get help, and I went and got counseling, and it is in that session we found out that the root of it was just undealt with trauma from the loss. So as women, we face a myriad of challenges, health challenges. We face menopause, miscarriage, PCOS, endometriosis, infant loss, you name it. And sometimes it can feel so overwhelming, as if we can't win at this thing called life when we have to deal with this and do regular life. But I'm here to just challenge you and to encourage you to know that together we can win.
Our next feature explores the synergy between education and technology and how much you can benefit from this arrangement.
of a global technological revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, that is transforming the way we access information, communicate, learn, and even play.
The COVID-19 pandemic quickly demonstrated why the need to integrate technology in education is a vital part of teaching and learning. But this should not be done exclusively as a crisis management tool, because technology is now an indispensable part of modern life. The Jamaican government understands and is moving in alignment with that idea.
Technology will remain a permanent part of the education system. We will still have all the technology that you are used to in the virtual space. It will still be available.
The World Economic Forum, in its Future of Jobs report, estimated that by 2025, 85 million jobs may be displaced by technology. However, the report also estimates that 97 million new jobs will emerge that are more adapted to the new division of labor between humans, machines, and algorithms.
Technology is the future, and the future is digital. It simply means that using technology in the classroom will help to prepare our children to become more competitive applicants for future job markets. By incorporating devices such as interactive smartboards, using smart computer labs or apps such as Google Classroom into the daily teaching and learning environment, students are better prepared for the digital marketplace.
While we work to address the learning loss from the pandemic, we are concurrently embarking on a systemic transformation of our education system to address three fundamental issues. The first is the quality of education and alignment with future job markets.
The walls of the classrooms are no longer barriers to collaborative work, as technology is facilitating new ways of communicating and working together. Where interaction was once limited to those in physical proximity, now technology is facilitating students in one class being able to easily share information with teachers and their peers in other locations near and far. Even for work outside class, students can collaborate on group projects using technology-based tools and applications, allowing for easier peer interaction and engagement.
We are in the era of artificial intelligence, virtual and augmented reality. This revolution is transforming the way children and young people access information.
It's now easy for students and teachers to access a vast amount of information, from books to research papers to videos, available through just a click on the internet. Opportunities too for formal learning are available online, giving people the chance to participate in and complete traditional degree programs at institutions even in other countries. With the ease at which people can now access education, it therefore means that learning too can be accelerated and students can explore new subjects and deepen their understanding of difficult concepts. With the global reach of the internet, a new epoch of anytime, anywhere is emerging for the education field. The use of technology in education could very well mean that learning no longer has to be confined to regular firm school hours. Simply put, engage in your lessons at times most convenient to you. The education sector, like many others, has become deeply intertwined with technology, but the promise of greater development rests in what educators, students, and even technological developers do to support learning and teaching needs. Well, for us here in Jamaica,
this government is transforming our education system and sowing seeds for peace, opportunity, and progress.
what a way you're full of our roots and culture. That was in Jamaica 60. Jamaica 60? What a piece of news, Miss Matty. I feel like my heart going bust up. Just in, the island of Jamaica is on the verge of celebrating its 60th year of independence. I will we have to celebrate it. They say the people them come here, you know. But you see, when our people decide, say the other people them free paper, them say if it's war, start it, whatever. We are collect medal, panta fight, The celebrations are slated to begin on January 1st, 2022. Organized by the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. We have more in this report. I am on site and planning activities are ablaze. Persons are advised to download the Reggae Jamaica app to know what it activities for the Jamaica 60 celebration. If you don't know the app to get the updates then.
It's our Diamond Jubilee, and if you've been keeping up, then you would have heard about some of the plans that our government will be executing to mark the celebrations. As part of our Jamaica 60 celebrations, our producers in-house took to the streets to find out what you think is great about Jamaica. Here are the responses.
Jamaica's 60th year of independence, and the GIS team is in the streets to hear your voice. From St. Thomas to Westmoreland and the Diaspora. What you say?
The people of Jamaica is great. And from the people, we get great leaders.
Everything, the people, the places, the stories, the history, the past and the present, everything.
Part of the structure of the education has improved a lot. So overall, I think they're doing pretty good so far, and I hope they keep it up.
I think our people are one of the most versatile people in the world. We're extremely creative and resourceful.
More tourists come here, you get job frequently, and everything is okay.
A great Jamaican look like all of us. Look like me, look like you. Look like Bob Marley, look like Miss Lou. All of us are great Jamaicans.
The economy improve and that the government actually put things in place to actually increase our economy in terms of resources.
Being a Jamaican is additional building from yourself. Not you me a small man, me can build it too. Build it with the love. Just like how Usain Bolt build it.
As a Jamaican, we are proud. Yeah? And we personally, when a Jamaican is in the room, you will know.
I feel proud to be a Jamaican, love my Jamaica, not leaving here. And no matter what the crises are, I still love Jamaica.
A lot of us overseas can come back, and those are in the medical field can donate some time, some equipment, some on the educational wise literatures and stuff like that.
I want to explore my potential in the arts, specifically dance and singing, and be able to, as I said, embody that culture and be able to, when I get older, teach it to the younger generation.
After all that learning, this is where we put the final pause for today's show, because we're at the end. But just before we go, we want to thank you for sticking through the Jamaica Magazine journey, and we encourage you to rewatch this and other shows on our YouTube channel. Also, visit the JIS's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more information. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. See you soon.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.